Okay, today I have cables. I have Cancun sweaters on really funky yarn. I have a finished object by Miss Christine herself. And I have how to take care of your knitting for the winter. Stay tuned. Okay, so I think I'm going to start with the cables first. This is part of the cable blanket, which I've been talking about. I'll put a picture of the blanket up here. And I finished the third block. So there's, how many blocks are there? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 9 blocks. I'm doing the small ones first, and then the 4 corner blocks are like at least twice the size. So I'll be doing the small ones first, and then we'll get into the bigger ones. But anyways, I wanted to show you the difference between the 2 side panels. So there's a center square, and these 2 panels go on the outside of the center square. So it's like, it'll make a line right down the middle of the blanket with this. So here's the side square for one. And then here's the side square, the other side. And they will go around the center block, which is this one. So these have been really fun. I've really enjoyed doing these. They're not too, they're not terrible. I've done more complicated cables. These are pretty non-complicated. You're doing a lot of cables, and the hardest part is just keeping track of where you are in your chart, which you need to be reading a chart. So you'll learn to read a chart for cabling. Charts are the way to go. Because once you understand how to visualize the symbols, you can sort of look at every symbol and you sort of know what's going on. You don't have to constantly be looking back at the directions. And if you're doing the written, it just has the abbreviation, so you still would have to, that way you would have to sort of look at the directions. But with the chart, you can do it without. And I'm also doing this without a cable needle now, because it's faster for me. So you'll learn how to cable without a cable needle, which is freeing if you're gonna do cables, not to have to deal with cable needle, even if it's a great cable needle. And there's bigger cables, you're gonna use a cable needle. I don't trust anything like 6, depending on what I'm doing. I might do a 6 where you're moving 3 by 3, no, an 8, 4 by 4. But anything bigger, use a cable needle. So anyways, that's the cable block, and it is starting in July 9th. July 9th is our first class. So just let us know you're interested. I'll put you on the list. And in a bit, we will start ordering yarn. You're going to order your yarn. We're using Cascade Aran Superwash. Comes in tons of colors. Obviously, I personally think a cream white kind of thing is like classic and will be okay forever. But obviously you can do anything you want. I would stay away from dark colors, stay into light colors, because you won't see the cables. First of all, you have to knit the dark color. You can't, and then you won't see the cables quite the same. So I would definitely stay in the light realm. But this is fun. This is like an intermediate knit. If you're a beginner, I wouldn't go down this road. Next year, I'd go down this road. But if you knitted a few things, you can knit and purl, and you can do yarn overs. You can do a few things. You can do this. So advanced beginner, intermediate, something like that. But don't let it scare you. You could also buy a skein of yarn and come to the first class and see if this is going to work for you. But then you need your other skeins pretty quick. But you got a month. That might work. If you're really sitting on the fence, super sitting on the fence, or even better, is just find another simple cable something and come in and and I can help you, look through it, figure it out, read charts, and see if you like it. Because you need to like it. If you're gonna do cables, you need to like cables. So just find a smaller project. There's tons of them. A headband, something small, a cup cozy, yeah, something small that has a cable on it. Hat, you could do a hat that has cables on it. So that's the cable class. And yeah, so let us know if you're interested so we can, get the list going, and I know how many people, and then we'll let you know when we're about ready to order yarn. Okay, so the upcoming class is this Sunday at 10, and it's the brioche class, Learn to Brioche. And this is brioche, if you haven't seen it yet. It is basically knits, and you knit rows, purl rows, and there's yarn overs connected with your knits and purls. That's what creates this really cool fabric. And it's totally reversible. It's the opposite on the other side. So see, this side's the aquas, this side's the grays out. So it's totally different. And it's just a really fun, it's a really fun process doing it, knitting it. It's really fun. Fixing it is the issue, but we're going to have a little part of our class. We'll be working on swatches and fixing things, so you get used to how you have to pick up stitches and what it looks like when you take out. Backing it out is really what you want to do, but you have to understand what you're looking at, so when you knit it, again, you know what you're doing. And then if you do have to drop down a stitch, then I'll teach you how to pick up the stitch, and because it's just a little bit different than everyday knitting, but not a lot different. It's okay. It's okay. And lifelines will be your friend. So, brioche, this Saturday, 10 o'clock. Let us come in, get your yarn. Have your yarn before Sunday, please. And did I say Saturday? Sunday, the 16th at 10 o'clock. Me and my days. Sunday, the 16th at 10 o'clock. Have it before Sunday. Yeah, because I mostly have it, even if have it for Sunday, because I don't want to have to deal with, we've got a lot to do in the 2 hours. So I don't want shopping dealing. So only an emergency. If it's an emergency, last minute, that's fine. But if you can possibly get here this week before Sunday morning, that would be perfect. So that you have your yarn, it's wound up if it needs to be, and all that kind of good stuff, and we can just jump into class. So that's brioche. Okay, so I'm going to sort of rename the next class coming up on the 29th of April, which is a Saturday the 29th. And it is for the Tokyo hoodie, which is the baby's child. This is baby child. That's got lots of sizes. Hoodie out of the bud. And so it's sort of a fast knit because that's a bigger yarn. But I'm going to start saying these are start your sweaters properly class. Get a good start on your sweater, and you can come in with any sweater and we can get the good start on your sweater, because that's really what we're doing in that class, is getting you going, you doing your gauge, getting your measurements so you know how to start it and you can get started correctly, which is really important on a sweater. So that sweater is going to be this Sunday, but you can also do the Cancun or any other sweater, but I'm going to show you the Cancun and what we've done to the Cancun. All right, so here's our Cancun. This is the real Cancun that you do. This is the one I did last year, which I wear a lot. I love this sweater top. It's really a top. It has lace work. If you make a mistake, it sort of doesn't matter. It's 2 rectangles, and then I added sleeves onto mine a little bit longer than it would have been. The rectangle, well, I'll show you the other one. And then what happens is this edge of the rectangle falls off because it's wider. You know, you've got ease, it's wider than your body. So this actually falls off your shoulder and sort of makes a little cap sleeve with just 2 rectangles. So that's this pattern, 2 rectangles. And then this has lace work. And here's the one that's oh wait, what's going on here? Just the rectangle. Get it the right side up. So this is just the rectangle, and this one has a little bit less ease. But as you can see, it's just 2 rectangles, that's it. And you do the same thing as far as the lace goes and all that stuff. So that's the Cancun. Now, we got some really cool yarn in that's very different, and we really weren't sure what we could do with it until Christine swatched it up, and she swatched it in this green color, which we don't actually have, but we can get. Look at that, isn't that cool? That's so cool. Her gauge, I think, is bigger than mine. Oh, yeah, that's interesting. Okay, and I'm doing a Cancun in this. So I'm doing a Cancun, and here's my Cancun so far. No, it's about right. But isn't that sort of a really cool fabric? It's a really cool fabric. And you don't have to do anything but knit a row, purl a row, knit a row, purl a row. The yarn does all the work. And as you can see, you got big, giant, slubby stuff and then thin yarn. And it's like out of t-shirt material, so it's really, really soft and squishy and everything. I am going to put sleeves on mine, but I'm making the 2 rectangles, and then I'll pick up for my drop sleeves and do like 3/4 3/4 sleeves is what I'll probably do. But you don't have to. You can do 2 rectangles. So all we do is you come in with a swatch of this knit up, so that we can get the measurements. So this is what you'd have to bring on the sweater class. Any sweater class, this is what you have to bring. You got to make a gauge swatch, and you want it to be 6 inches, not 4. So if it says cast this many on for 4 inches, half that and cast on that much more. So if it's 20 stitches to 4 inches, you're going to cast on 30 stitches. All right. So you have 6 inches instead of the 4. So we can get a good measurement for your gauge. Then you're going to bring in a sweater, top, shirt, anything at all that fits the way you want this to fit. So you can get hip measurements, bust measurements, length measurements, arm, sleeve measurements, if that's what you need. Yeah, so those are the things you need to begin a sweater. And so in the sweater, so if you're going to do the sweater class, then any sweater, but you got to bring your swatch and you're going to bring a piece of clothing. And then we'll get it going for you. We'll figure out the math. I'll help you figure out the math of the whole thing, because you might be between sizes or something. So we got to figure that out. The Cancun is a little different. We take your swatch, we take your hip measurement, the bottom of your sweater measurement, and we cast on and you knit 2 rectangles, a certain length, however long you want, from here or the back of your neck down. You're gonna just knit 2 rectangles, and then we'll sew it up. That's it. So this is really fun yarn. We're like surprised. We're pleasantly surprised at how it knits up, because it's just really funky and kooky, and man, it's all irregular, so it doesn't matter what's happening. You don't have to worry about the stitches. You got big stitches, you got big holes, you got little holes. It all works. It just all works. And so that's the fabric. So cool. And we have I think it's 2, 4, 6, 8, maybe 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 colors. Well, we'll get more of my color. Mine is this purple one. And we'll probably get this one too. So, but about 9 colors. And yeah, that's really cool. I don't know how many skeins yet, so we'll sort of have to do the math on that as I get mine done. Yeah, so as I get mine done, and we'll figure out the number of skeins. We're on 11. I'm knitting on an 11, so this goes pretty quickly. So it's a lot of fun, actually. So there's another idea for a sweater that I think is just really fun and super easy. Totally have it ready for the spring weather once if it ever decides to show up on a consistent basis into summer. And yeah, so I love it, love it, love it. Okay, and last but not least, I'm going to talk about how you take care of your sweaters. So we are going into spring. It's going to be time to start putting away the warm sweaters, the heavy warm sweaters. And what do you need to do to make sure your sweaters are good when you bring them back out next year? So so there's a process to this, and this goes with anything. This is also like if you just want to wash your sweater. I don't tend to wash them but once a year. I tend to have something underneath my sweater, and then you can air it out as you wash it. I mean, obviously if you spill on it and stuff like that, you're going to wash it. My Cancun, I do wash that several times in a season. But my bigger sweaters, well, I have mostly cardigans, so they're always over something. And then, yeah, so that's up to you. If you had a sweaty time, then you might want to wash it. But yeah, it doesn't need to be, they don't need to be washed every time you wear them. It just doesn't need to happen. So how do you do this? So first of all, the washing, this would be even how you would block. Part of this is how you would actually block, wet block a garment, which is very important. Either wet block, you got to block it somewhere. You got to wet block it or steam block it. And we've got a really good steamer that you can get now. So I've been steam blocking a lot of things, but some things need to be wet blocked. Like this cable. Yeah, I was going to check that. Yeah, see, this one was wet blocked. This one I steam blocked, and the fact this is softer. The yarn relaxed even more than steaming. So I'm probably going to end up wet blocking that one. So there are reasons to wet block. Some people only wet block. So I wet blocked everything forever until a couple years ago when I found this steamer, and it works so well. So, but wet blocking is like, that's the way we wash things, hats, anything. And this goes for hats, gloves, scarves if you want to, so here we go. So you're going to, first of all, look at it and see if there are anything that need to be fixed. Is there, any little holes or wear starting to happen, because you want to fix those now. You don't want to fix them as they get bigger or worse. You can bring them in and we can, into a workshop, and I can show you how to fix it. You can bring it into us. We'll help you fix it, and take it home and fix it for you, and then you can pay. It's $25 an hour. So depending on what if it's fast, it's great. So you want to check it out. Then you want to depill. If it needs pilling, you know what that is, all the little fuzzy balls. You want to depill it. Now, there are two ways I do that. And one is this one, which has little tiny blades that go around in a circle. So you see it's got these blades. And then this is the guard. And then there are several other guards that make this further and further away from the surface. I have found that this is the one that works best for me. Now, always, always, always depill and at a place that you're not going to see, even maybe the inside of the sweater a little bit, under the arm, that kind of thing, so that you can make sure that it's going to work on your sweater. But this one is one I use, but they came out with a new one, which I'm loving. So this is the Gleaner. It's called the Gleaner, and it's got stuff on it because I depilled my purple sweater the other day, which really needed it. So this is called the Gleaner. So this is smooth, and this actually de-hairs. Like if you got fuzzies on things, that's what this really does really well. But now if you really have to get some pills off, this has these little wire, and they're plastic. Yeah, it's plastic, just a grate around, and you do this and it just pulls it up. It's magic. It's really magic. And there's several different heads in this. So yeah, they have this one, which is like an emery board, which is really cool. And then this one is less gritty. So this is like a really smooth emery board. This one's a little bit rougher, and this one's even rougher. So that's sort of the three levels of things. So always, always, always try whatever you're going to use to depill on an area that you can't see. And you don't want to do it real heavy. You want to do it sort of lightly and just get the pills off. You don't want to be going like this because it'll just start wearing down your fabric. It probably won't do a hole, but if you do it often, if you're doing this often because it's a pilly sweater or something, do it lightly and you're just getting off the pills. Okay, so this is a Gleaner. Amazon has it. Christine had a little one that had this thing right here, and that works. I think we're out right now. But anyway, so those are the two ways that I depill and I mostly do this now because I love this thing, my garments. So after it's all depilled, it's all looking good. There's all the buttons are loose, sew on buttons, just make it all good. Now you're going to soak it. So you're going to soak it in. Now, if you have several sweaters and they're all around the same colorway, you can soak them all together. If you've got white and darks, don't soak those together. The old rules of separating the whites from the darks and the colors, and yeah, sort of do that. So anyways, you're going to soak it. You can soak it in your kitchen sink. You can soak it in your bathtub, depending on how many sweaters you're soaking. You can soak it in a big bowl if it'll fit in there. Like I soak I do my socks and hats and stuff like that in this bowl. But anyways, you're soaking it, and then you're going to put in a touch of wool wash or eucalyptus. This is a eucalyptus, and it doesn't take very much because you're not rinsing it out. So you're going to put a touch of that, mix it all in, and then you're going to put your stuff in. And you're just going to push it down until it gets all wet, and you're going to leave it at least in a half an hour. You can leave it longer. It can stay overnight. It's not going to hurt it any, but you want to soak it at least a half an hour so that the water really does get into all the fibers, because that's where it needs cleaning. That's also for blocking. That's how the stitches all end up evening out and all that kind of good stuff. So at least half an hour. Then you're going to drain it. Then you're going to squeeze. So you're not going to wring it, none of that. You're just going to put it all in, and you're going to squeeze like this, and you can do it up against the side of the sink or whatever. You're going to squeeze. You can do a little rinsing if you want to. You're going to squeeze. Then you're going to get a towel, like a big bath towel or a beach towel, and you're going to lay this down on the towel and then put it up, and you're just going to roll this up. So you're just going to roll it in the towel, and then you're going to put it on the ground and you're going to stomp on it. Get your aggressions out. So you're going to step all over it, try and get as much water out as you can. Then you take it out of the towel, and then you're going to lay it flat to dry. So now, if you're blocking, you may need to block to measurement. So like if things need to be stretched a little bit so that it makes the measurements, you need to do that, and you're going to pin it out with stainless steel pins. And you can do that if you need to with what you just did. If you feel like it needs to be blocked again, go ahead. If it doesn't, you're just literally laying it flat to dry. Having those mesh sweater dryers, which makes them up above the surface so the air gets on both sides, obviously dries faster. Having a fan on it, if possible, dries way faster. I tend to do this, I put them up on my bed because I'm not in there, and I have a fan directly on my bed. I put it on high, and it dries much faster. So anyways, that's how you're going to do it. And then you're going to fold it up and put it away. Now, putting it away, you need to somewhat seal it because the concern, of course, is always moths and little things that want to eat the wool or the alpaca or whatever. So you want to put it in a plastic bin and that's sealed, it has a really good locking lid. And then, but inside you want to put cedar or lavender or both, just little parts around, and you can put them in those little mesh bags. You can get little mesh bags, and you can fill them up and then place them all around your knitting, and then you can put it away wherever it is you're putting it away. If you really know you have moth issues often, I would also then seal it into either a Ziploc bag and get as much air out as you can, or even one of those those space saver things where you vacuum the air out. It's a vacuum bag and you vacuum the air out. That's too, and then put it into the plastic container, and then so it just depends on where you live and how much of this is a problem, and what makes you feel comfortable. So that's how you take care of your knits. And it's important because you spent time and money on these things, so you don't want to take them out and go, oh my God, moths. And if you're ever worried about that and you think you saw something, the way to make sure you kill it off your garments is actually put it in the freezer. So you put it in the freezer for like overnight, and you take it out, you let it thaw out, let it be for a while, and then the next night you do it again so that it's killed any of the eggs that hatched, and you do it again, and that pretty much kills all the bugs. That kills everything. So those are the little tips and tricks on how to take care of your woolens that you have spent so much time knitting, so much money, and you want to make sure that they last you years and years and years. And so this is part of the love and care they need from you to make sure that happens. Okay, I think that's it for today, and I hope to see you guys in the studio real soon. Bye.